Good evening, everyone. Let me adjust my music a little bit. Okay. Hey there, North Fairy. First one here tonight. Woo! How's everything going? Um, get this going the right way. Like a creeper with wings? Okay. Let's double check to see if this uploaded correctly. Well, that's children for you. Just checking a little last setting. All right, we're going to get into this temperature blanket tonight. This is the most stressful weekend ever we've had with her. Well, if it does, hey, if it doesn't work this weekend, that's fine. You, you've got time. And it's going to take some time. Well, hey, I've never had experience, but from what I know, what I've heard from other parents who've had boys and girls, that boys can be easier. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but you got it. You could do it. Let me just double check something right quick. Yep. That's what my mother says. Okay, we're gonna pop into and do our temperature blanket, and I hope everybody likes the color yellow because this was the week previous. Um, I got these last couple stitches the previous week. The good thing is I don't have to change colors tonight, but the bad thing is, the boring thing is, I'm going to have 7 rows of yellow. Oops. Oops, 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 oops. So we're just going to go. Oh, guess it's mellow yellow, and hey, Grammy. So we just got our usual Sunday night temperature blanket that's going on. This afternoon, I took a really good nap. When I woke up, I looked at the time and I was like, wait a minute, is that AM or PM? I had to really focus. I didn't realize I had slept that good. Okay, gonna move my cake a little bit closer. What is everyone working on? That bottle. Careful. Let me check something. I think it's better with that light on. I've changed up my lighting. I now have the light up ahead, up above, like I used to. I didn't put my magnifying glass lamp up there. It's a different lamp. It's a bare bulb, so got a little more brightness. Was working on a blanket using some closed cluster stitch I found in the Stitch Dictionary. The Sacred Text, yes. The Sacred Text by Sarah Hazel. Closed cluster. Yeah, I'll have to look that one up. Yeah, like I mentioned last night, Tuesday night, this coming Tuesday, we will be making, it's basically 4 double crochet fan anchored by a single crochet in each end. Tuesday, I'm going to show how to make a simple yarn bowl basket. It's real easy to do. Good stash buster. And you can make it whatever color you want. And it's sturdy because it's using this. Mine is using 2 strands of worsted weight wool together. You could use like 3 strands of DK weight, and it stands up on its own. And you can make them for pretty much anything, not just a yarn bowl, if you just want a yarn basket. So that will be on Tuesday. Easy to remember, hard to screw up, perfect for me. Hey, whatever stitch will work. And everybody, let me know if the music levels are okay. If it's too loud, I can adjust. Can't really hear it, but your volume is low on the phone. Ah, I just don't want it to be too loud and drowning out my voice whenever I talk. Yeah, the service, well, it's a free service that I use for the music is Soundtrack by Twitch. So it's all Twitch approved. There's other places to get Twitch approved music. Well, now that I got the sound figured out, they announced the other day that Soundtrack by Twitch is going to be shut down the middle of July. So I'm like, great. So now I got to find another source for Twitch safe music that's free and that's decent. A lot of this other stuff that I found, it's a little more upbeat, which there's nothing wrong with upbeat, but I don't want like hard rock or metal sounding music. Nah, that Metallica is not Twitch safe. Um, the one I found was fine. It's actually a Spotify playlist, but it's all Twitch safe. But the problem is, I have a free account, so intermittently there'll be an ad playing, and I'm like, I don't want the ad because those aren't my ads. It's not like I'm getting revenue from those ads, as opposed to the ads I have run, mid-roll ads that I have run here on my stream. So I'm still researching that to find a source that would work. I know a lot of streamers use a service called Pretzel, but that's all paid. Pretzel used to have a free version, but they have a free trial, but they don't have a completely free version anymore. So I'm still searching for something. If I know currently the people on my stream aren't streamers, but anybody who's watching my stream on the VODs, if they stream and they have a suggestion of what I could use, please let me know. You can send, actually, if you're watching it on the YouTube upload, just put it into a comment, or you can message me through the Discord server. Nearing the end of our first row of yellow. I hope everybody has enjoyed my Back to Basics series this month. It's a good refresher for some people, and also for those that are learning. It's a good collection of fundamental stitches to learn. Getting last row there, chain one and turn. Like I said, Tuesday night we're doing the yarn bowl, and then you just double check this real quick. Thursday, the 1st, will be beginning of our Granny Month event, and our first stitch we are doing is a daisy granny square. It's actually, the pattern is from the YouTube channel Ophelia Talks. I'm gonna I'll be giving credit to where I got the patterns from. So that will be like I said, it's a 3D daisy granny square on Thursday. And then to round out the week, I gotta double check this real quick. I don't know if that's a YouTube channel or if it's a different website. Oh, I gotta zoom. Yeah. To round out the week, Saturday, we're doing a 3D peony granny square from the YouTube channel called Yarn Andy. So that will be our first two Granny Month streams. Will be a daisy and then a peony. Got a bunch of other flowers throughout the month, and let me check. The last 2 weeks of the month, we are going to do insect, and well, one's not an insect. There'll be 4 different insects and a snail granny square, but that will be at the end of the month. So garden themed related squares. If anybody was really into 3-dimensional floral granny squares, Krista from the Secret Yarnery, I think she's finishing up the next few months or so. She's doing a crochet along. It's called Blooming something, where each month she does a 3D floral square, and hers all will be, they're all different flowers, but they all work out so that the finished size of each square is the same size. And then when she's done all of them, then she will connect them all to make a blanket. You could check out her channel, or, and additionally, I'd be willing to show how to do all of her squares that she's doing, but that would be on a private viewing party in the Discord, not here on Twitch. Multiple viewing parties. Not really a viewing party, because we won't be watching her videos. You'd be watching me do. It'd be like this, but in Twitch, not in Twitch. It'd be like this, but in Discord. Y'all know what I meant. That's also something we could do for the future if everyone was, or anybody was interested in it. It doesn't have to be everybody. Okay, well, I gotta mark off my row that I just did before I get done the second row. Okay. Let me save my file. If I don't save it, I'll forget. Okay. But the floral granny squares that I'm going to be making this month, they're all not necessarily going to be the same size. So it's not something to plan that if you wanted to crochet along to join them all together. I mean, you could do continuous rounds to make them all about the same size, but that's not really my intention. And again, if anybody has any suggestions for future streams, like for the month of July and going forward, you can pop them here in the Twitch, pop them on the Discord channel. Let me check that one file. I do not on there. I am thinking about doing some beaded crochet projects coming up in July. Something a little different than what we have been doing here on the stream. And we're getting ready to have an ad break. So bear with me, everybody, while we transition into the ad break. Welcome back. And thank you, everyone who sat through that ad break. It definitely helps my stream. Nearing the end of my second row of the night. Really like this yarn. The line that... Hey there, Fairy Dust. I'm pretty good. How are you? The yarn I'm currently using on this project for this color is Craft Smart acrylic. I don't know if it's a Michaels only line because I've only ever seen it at Michaels, so I'm assuming it is. It's comparable to Super Saver. I think it's a little bit nicer than Super Saver. It's got a nicer texture. It's not as scratchy. I mean, Super Saver's come a long way over the decades, but I like this a little bit better. It's got a nicer texture, and just the way it works up is really nice. But not everything in here is Craft Smart. Like the orange is not. The lighter green is not. There could be a couple other ones that aren't. Okay, I'm not posting. I'm checking off the row I just did. Okay. So as I'm doing this, again, I've got 7 rows. I just did 2 rows. The previous 2 rows are from the previous week. I'm going to have 7 rows total tonight of yellow because all last week the high temperature here was in the 70s. So as I'm doing this, and I can't play it on stream, but as I'm doing this, I had a song go through my head. Coldplay's Yellow. Yeah, that's kind of appropriate. Or like Grammy had said earlier, Mellow Yellow. That was a song from back in the day. I might end up posting those 2 YouTube videos on the Discord to show how I'm feeling about this right now. Again, I'm not complaining that it's in the 70s. Not complaining at all. I mentioned to some friends the other day we were talking about weather, and one of my friends lives in Florida and the other one lives in South Texas, and they were talking about how hot it was, and I couldn't really join in the conversation because I said, most of May it's been really nice here, and I said it's probably been highs around the 70s or so. Maybe think earlier in the month. Obviously, earlier in the month we had some highs in like the 60s, and yeah, they didn't want to hear it. So I also had mentioned to them, I was like, it's unseasonably, I mean, we usually get weather like this in the spring, but usually by the end of May, it gets really hot and humid, or starting to get hot and humid. I shouldn't say really. Starting to get hot and humid here that we have to turn the AC on, and I haven't had to do that yet, which is a good thing. You're very much a cold weather person. Oh, me too. I'd rather have it cool to cold-ish. I don't like I don't like the snow and ice and all of that stuff, but I do like my temperature's cooler. Um, I would say like daytime high from like the mid 50s to the mid 60s is perfect for me. And I'd rather be too cold than too hot. That's just how I am. Not that everybody needs to know, but I sweat a lot. So yeah, I'm not fond of the summer humidity. And yes, there are other places that will get much more humid than it does here in central Maryland, but we do get humidity. Enjoy it while you can. Hot, hazy, hot, and humid is scheduled in about a week. Oh, shh. Grammy, shush. But, like I said, it has been a little bit cooler than normal here. No, at night when it's gotten cooler, it's been like perfect sleeping weather. I've had the windows open, and usually I sleep with a fan on low. Well, the other night, believe it or not, I usually use like a lightweight blanket. Well, I had to get up and turn off the fan, and then I was still a little chilly. Believe it or not, I had to go get my down comforter, but it's more of an all year down comforter where it's not strictly for the winter. Here in Kentucky, the summer would be like 95 degrees and 85% humidity. It's like breathing underwater. Same here. Same here in Maryland. We joke that the height of summer, one day it'd be fine, and then the next day you open that front door and it's like you think you're gonna have to cut the air with a knife. That's how thick it feels. And where I live, it's not high elevation. It's not like it's in the mountains or anything where you can get a little bit of a break from it. I'm pretty much at sea level, little above sea level here. I think I Googled it once, and I think where I am is about like 13 feet above sea level. So, not that that has anything to do with the humidity, because it could still get humid in the mountains or higher elevation. But there's that. I'm just stitching along with my yellow. I think when this is all done, and I've been saying this since January. I think it's going to look really cool to see just the transition of colors of how like we're gonna have a wide band of yellow. Like here we had a bunch of green. To go back months, I think there's a couple wider sections of purple. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this is going to turn out. I gotta shake some feeling back into my hand every now and then. Nothing's wrong. Just every now and then, my hand gets a little achy from holding the tension and everything. I gotta have some little more movement in my hand instead of just sitting there. I was going to do a temperature blanket this year. Less than 2 weeks into the year, I'd already forgotten to record temps. Well, you could always go back in time and check the record. Because that's what I do. I use well, I started using AccuWeather, but it ain't that accurate. And I switched over to the Weather Channel, and it's much more accurate. And you can always go back and check the temperatures from days in the past. And that is something I'm thinking about doing for possibly next year, not a 2024 temperature blanket, but a long-term temperature blanket. Much smaller, probably more of like a Afghan, like a lap blanket Afghan type size. And I guess I'll tell everybody my idea. I'm still brainstorming. I think I've got a pattern I want that I will probably choose to do. I'm thinking about doing a simple chevron or zigzag blanket, but using the temperatures from the year I was born. I was born back in the 70s, and I'm thinking about using more 70s colors. So yes, the avocado greens, the harvest golds, the oranges, the browns, those types of colors. I have to modify the pattern a little bit because I don't want it to be more narrow and then 8 feet tall. So I'm playing around with how I'm gonna do all of that. Okay, we just got row 3 done tonight. And listen to yeah, if only I could play popular music, well-known popular music here on Twitch. ABBA or some disco or um, the Carpenters or Carole King or Kiss. But yeah, that's kind of my idea, like a retro Afghan. Because back then, everybody had a ripple or chevron Afghan. It was a popular thing. They sold them in kits, and they came in every different color combination you can think of. In fact, Grammy made one. It was in 4 different shades of green. I've had friends. I think my one friend said, I think their mother or grandmother or somebody made one. I think it was during the bicentennial. It was red, white, and blue. I think I had a friend. I think she said the one that they had was in oranges and browns and creams. Yeah, everybody had one. And obviously, I didn't know how to crochet in the 70s. So I never made one back then. So to be similar colors, I mean, I probably use maybe a little bit more of a golder color if I can find a little bit more gold yarn. This green would be perfect. That is definitely like an avocado olive green. That green would work great. Some dark chocolatey browns, and I'm also thinking it would be really good because it would be a more of a smaller Afghan size. And I could even use it to drape around my shoulders if I got a chill instead of actually use it as a blanket. And again, those of you who are joining, if you're new or watching on the YouTube, if you're new, welcome. I'm making my 2023 temperature blanket. I'm doing the moss stitch, also known as the linen stitch, or here we call it the zipper stitch. And each day of the week, the high temperature of that day will determine what color I use. So I will not know exactly how this will turn out until we get to the new year. I'm using a 3-weight. Inexpensive worsted weight yarn, either stuff from my stash, or if I have to go get any colors that I don't have, mostly it's been the Craft Smart brand from Walmart, not from Walmart, from Michaels. Why did I say Walmart? I don't have that Mitch size 3 or DK weight yarn. Majority of what I have is 4. And I just happen to using a 5.5 millimeter hook. Simple, not simple, common hook for worsted weight. And I'm still in the process. Well, I haven't worked on it in a while. I still have my sock pattern project on hold. I gotta think about how to modify it. I tried it on the other week, and I'm at to the point where I need to turn the heel. So I got basically half the heel made. I tried it on, and it's not long enough to the actual backside of my heel yet. It's probably about like that much more to go. So, actually, fairy dust. I know you've made socks before. What would you recommend I do? Because again, I tried it on, and if you don't mind me asking you, so I'm doing my heel, and I'm tapering it down, and this right here is where they want me to start getting wider again, so I can turn the heel. But when I tried it on, my actual heel was like back here. There wasn't enough room, so I'm like, that's not going to be long enough. So I'm thinking, I think there's like 12 stitches here. I'm thinking doing X amount of rows of 12 stitches. And then once I get, I think that's how you do it, yeah. Once I get it to be the right size and then turn it? Or should I just continue with as the pattern goes? Because again, I've never made a sock before. I just want to make certain it's actually gonna be the right size. And the pattern I'm using is for men's 10 and 11 size shoe, and I wear a 10 and a half. So I'm not certain what I should do. I don't want to end up doing it and then it not work and then have to frog it all out and then go from there. And as I ask that, we are going to be having another ad break. But I'm liking I love the pattern in the, um, how it worked up. And yes, I've got paper clips as stitch markers, but use what you got. All right. Well, we're going to have, I would frog it back to before you started the heel and add a couple more inches in the round and restart the heel edge. Okay. Back. Okay. I'll have to try that. Okay, we're going to have an ad. As soon as we come back from the ad, we can resume that conversation. I will be right back. Alrighty, welcome back. Again, thank you for sitting through that ad break. So yeah, you said you would frog back the heel wedge and add a couple more inches. So make sure you notate how many extra rounds you do. So yes, for the second sock. Pattern you use goes by measurements you take of your foot. Ah, okay. Yeah, this just says for men's 10 or 11 size shoe to do X amount of rounds. I mean, you do X amount, and then I think around here you do like an increase. by like a couple stitches to make it a little bit wider, and then you do up to a certain point, and then to do the wedge. Okay, yeah. I'll note how many extra that I have to add to the existing pattern and then do this wedge. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll have to work on that. I appreciate that because again, I've never done socks before. But I am periodically throughout the process trying it on to make certain things need to fit. At first I was like, is this gonna be enough to go around the actual foot part? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I didn't know if it was gonna be like big enough around for my foot to get into it. But yeah, that there's no problem with that. Sock yarn is so warm, your feet will love you. Yep. Again, that yarn is technically it's not technically a sock yarn. It is a size one, size a weight of one yarn, so it is a thin yarn, but it's merino. It's mostly merino wool and like a tiny bit of polyester, but the polyester I think is that metallic that's in it. So there's like no nylon in it. So I know a lot of sock yarns have a little bit of nylon in them for strength and durability, but Claymico had given me a bunch of this yarn, and I didn't really have any thinner yarn to make a sock with. I was like, why the hell not? Let me try it out. Yeah, because Claymico got that yarn, and she decided quickly that it was too thin for her to use. So she graciously donated it to me, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And I've never had sparkly socks before. All right, I am on row 5. Let me just double check because I had 2 before. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I miss that chain stitch that I have to do in between the singles here. Move this over. Dog.
Thanks for the follow.
Thank you for the follow, Anna the Wallflower. How are you? And welcome to my channel. I am working on my 2023 temperature blanket that I've been doing since January 1st. Each day is a different row, and the high temperature of the day will determine the color I use. Hello there, I've been lurking a little and love the vibes. Oh, a temperature blanket is, yeah, kind of what I just explained. Temperature blanket. You could also do temperature scarves, temperature anything. Basically, the high temperature, or there are variations of it. You could do, if you want to get real complicated, you could do highs and lows and precipitation and barometric. You can chart. You can get real complicated. But essentially, the weather will determine what color you use. You have to, there's a lot of math you have to do in advance to get like a range, like a yearly range of your highs and your lows. Like above me right here, I've got my chart here. So where I live, it could get down in freezing temperatures, and it could also get into the hundreds. So based on that, you're in orange right now. Oh, you're in the 80s. Okay. Um, some people will do this. The way I'm doing it is where I currently live. Some people will do this. It's wherever they are. So if they go on vacation or whatever, wherever they're currently at, whatever that temperature is of the day, will dictate it. I'm not doing that. I am going to the location where I live. And I'm doing a simplified version of it where those are my ranges, those are my colors. And I'm trying to use up some of the yarn I have. I had to buy some for some colors I was low on. And in this blanket, I've got green. So green is in the 60s. Well, then also I have this lighter mint green. That's also the 60s. So in my blanket, green is green. Some people will have smaller ranges. They'll have like a range of like 3, 4, 5 temperature range. And they'll have a specific shade for it. So they might have like a lighter pink for one, and then the next increment will be darker pink, and so on. You can customize it however you want. I'm just doing it more of a scrappy type thing. And I'm doing the moss stitch, also known as the linen stitch. And like I always say in this stream, we don't call it that. We call it the zipper stitch, because the stitch is a single crochet, chain one, single crochet, and you do the single crochets in the chain one space of the previous row, so they interlock. So like there's a row here of yellow, and then green, and then yellow. Well, those yellow stitches are in between the green from the previous row, so they look like the teeth of a zipper. This is a good stitch for a temperature blanket because they interlock like that. if you would, well, you can always adjust your gauge, but I found if I just did just regular like single crochets, they would be too tall and my blanket would be way, way too long. You're really new to crocheting and have been enjoying it a lot. Just finished making a lovely blanket Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad that you are enjoying it. It's a really good hobby to have. I find it relaxing. I like the tactile, the feel of it. And when you're done, you've got something you can use, or you can sell, or give as gifts. I do have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel are all of my previous streams. So when I get done streaming tonight, it gets uploaded directly to YouTube. I don't do any editing. I'm not that advanced. I'm just going to put everything right up there. So if you want to watch any of my previous streams, I've got quite a bit over there. I also have a Discord. If you want, you could join the Discord. We are pretty helpful with each other. If anybody has a question with anything, there's somebody there that would probably answer it or try to answer it for you. On the Discord, you can also upload pictures of your projects that you're working on or have finished. We also have what else do I have on my Discord? You could post general questions or comments. There's a suggestion. So if you have suggestions for future streams, my whips and foes. And again, if you're new to crocheting, a whip is a work in progress. This is a whip. And a foe is a finished object. And technically this is a foe. This is what I'm going to end up showing on stream Tuesday night. I'm going to show how to make a yarn bowl made out of yarn, or you can use it as a basket or whatever. So I'll show how to do that. So that's a faux or a finished object. What else do I have? Got a thing for our events. If anybody has any like actual events to attend, there's memes because we haven't done it in a while. There's a segment we do here on the stream called the meme of the stream, and then I also have a channel for YouTubers to watch. Anybody is free to post a link to a YouTube channel that they find interesting and creative. So that's just not for me to post YouTube links in there. Yeah, this is pretty cute. It's not my original idea, but it's not really that difficult. It's working in the round, and then you get to... It's actually using 2 strands at a time. So I've doubled up 2 strands of worsted weight yarn. Oh, I messed up that loop, but that's fine. I think I might be... Yeah, I think that was a knot. You work in the round and you increase to whatever size you want your base. And then you keep working on it and you don't increase. You just keep going to whatever height you want. And I'll show on Tuesday, you get to a certain point, however you want. And then, hey there, Fritz, Flicker Fritz. And you get to a certain point and you do X amount of stitches. And then you do like a chain 1 and skip. And you keep doing that if you want to put the holes in it. And then you keep going around for a couple extra rows. And then an additional thing you want, if you want, you could do a little loop to hang it or to clip something to it or whatever. And then once you're done, you'll reinforce the holes. It's real simple to make, but I will show on stream Tuesday how this is done. And it stands up on its own because it's double thickness yarn. You can also use multiple strands of size 3 weight yarn, like a DK weight yarn. You could probably do like 3 because it's a thinner yarn. You could do, and it's great to use up your scraps. so you don't have to go and buy a ceramic, wood, or other type of yarn bowl, which these are great. But if you don't want to spend the money and you got scrap, use this. Also, this, you can put all of your yarn in it and all your tools or whatever, and then you can always fold it up and then pop that in a bag, and it's good for travel. And Anna the Wallflower, you said you're new to crocheting. I just recently finished, yesterday, I finished my month-long Back to Basics here on Twitch, meaning all May I did was teaching the basic stitches, and somewhat a little more advanced, but they're basic, commonly used stitches in other patterns. So those are all on YouTube as well. Normally, I teach how to do a stitch or two sometimes on my stream, except for Sunday nights. Tonight is the exception, is I work on my temperature blanket. So I came to the end of this row. I need to mark it off so I stay on track. Get some iced tea. Good to stay hydrated. You tried a granny square a month ago and failed. Okay. It's funny that you say that. When was this? This was probably back in January or early February. January, February. It's on my channel. You go back months, and I show how to do a granny square, a basic granny square, because two of my followers here, I also know them in person, they had struggled for years to do a granny square, and I showed how to do it. After a couple times practicing it, they got it. On Thursday, this Thursday, the 1st of June, as you can see right above there, I'm doing Granny Month. They're going to be more complex granny squares, but if you happen to tune in, even if I'm working on a more complex granny square, I'm always willing to stop what I'm doing for a little bit to show how to do a basic granny square. Like, let me see, I got one here. I definitely have one. Like that. Pretty basic granny square. You have to look for it because I really want to make a dress with it. I have to look into that. Granny squares are my personal enemy. Yeah, I struggled at first when I started to learn to crochet many years ago, but I ended up getting it. So if you go back in April, sometime in April, I did a whole week of granny squares. Usually every 2 months or so, I do a granny event of some sort. February, I did a granny week. April, I did a granny week. June, we're doing granny month. But in addition to a basic, simple granny square, in April, I showed how to do, and these are just a few samples of the ones I did. I showed how to do a solid granny, whereas like this granny has got the holes all the way around. I did a solid one, and then I did a solid one with no gaps, so there's no holes in the corners. I showed how to do, where are they? Where are they? Okay. Showed how to do this one. This is a little more advanced. Some color changing. It's actually somewhat easy to do. I also showed This is one of my favorites. This is, I think they call this the birds of a feather. I don't know why they call it birds of a feather, but the center and the center round and the center stitches of each side are puff stitches. Everything else is a solid granny. So that adds a little bit of dimension to it. I really like that. It's like one of my favorites. I love that one. I also showed how to do a mitered or a cornered granny. It's just color changed. The sides are a little, takes a little time to learn, but they're pretty easy. And then you could take a bunch of these and piece them together to make different optical patterns. And then I also showed, that one doesn't need to be there, some floral grannies. So I did like a sunflower. And this is a couple different stitches. The center is, those are double crochets, I think, then puffs, then bobbles, and then I squared it up. I did the same thing, but with green. Actually, that's the right side. And then I also showed how to do this floral one, which it's not really showing the spaces in between. You can kind of see that there's space. Everything's kind of dark. But these are flat grannies. What I'm going to be showing in June are going to be three-dimensional grannies where, let me pull that back. Instead of it being flat, it'll be flat, but the flower part, they're all going to be floral or floral garden themed. The flower one is going to be three-dimensional. It's going to stick up off the surface of the square. So, oh, I love the floral ones too. So that's what's coming down the pike for June. Again, like I said, if you have trouble with granny squares at any time, if you're in, when I'm doing the granny squares, if I'm doing the three-dimensional ones, you can always say, hey, can you show me how to do a regular basic granny like that? The blue and white one? Yeah, that one there. Yeah. That one's pretty cool. The first two rounds, again, once you get the hang of a granny square, the first two rounds are pretty basic. It's the third and the fourth round when things change up. You're just changing color. But I have, again, if you're new to granny squares, I would definitely recommend trying out the basic one first. Either somebody like me teaching you live or finding a video of it. Thanks for showing. Okay, I bought yarn to work today so I could try it. And granny squares, I don't care what they are. If you're just practicing, just use scrap yarn. Yeah, just use whatever you have on hand if you have any. Because they're small, they're little squares. Yeah, I had trouble with doing them at first, but then I got the hang of it, and then, like I said, I showed two of my followers, and it clicked for them. Curious, are there recommendation yarns for people who live in tropical countries? I would suggest actually, before I answer that, we're gonna have an ad break. I don't want to start answering it and then get cut off. So once you come back from the ad, I'll answer your question. Welcome back, everybody. Again, thank you for sitting through that ad break. It definitely helps my channel. So, Anna, to answer your question, if you want a yarn that would be appropriate for a warmer climate, I would suggest a thinner weight yarn, meaning, and I don't know, you said you're new to crochet. I don't know if you're familiar with weights of yarn. And I don't know if this is international. It could be. What I'm using here is a size 4 yarn. It's a worsted weight yarn. So it's a medium weight, meaning the thickness of the yarn. So this is acrylic. And then I can show you. Okay, that's the thing. Certain countries refer to it as 4-ply. Here in the US, 4-ply means there are 4 strands that make up the yarn, but they can even be really thin yarn, or they could be chunky yarn, because each ply could be different thicknesses. So I'm not certain what a 4-ply yarn is in another country. There's terminology things that aren't different. There's also differences in stitches, which we're not going to get into. But this is a worsted weight, and I know in parts of Europe, they call this an Aran weight yarn, which is a medium weight yarn. And then this green yarn here, this is a size 1. And I don't know how well it's showing up, but this is a lot thinner than this. So I would recommend a thinner weight yarn, not necessarily this thin. If you can't see the stitches, pretty sure I do follow US stitches because I follow YouTube videos. Okay, well, there are YouTube videos in UK terms also. I'm not saying go down to a thin yarn like this, but a thinner yarn, because if it's thinner, tends to be cooler. It's not always the case. I would also look for material, yarn made out of cotton. Cotton is cooling. Things that have silk in it, yes, it's going to be a little more expensive, but silk is cooling. Linen is cooling. And then for man-made, like a rayon, that tends to have a somewhat of a cooling effect to it. Meaning cooling, not that it's going to make you cool, but it's not going to be as warm and insulating. So just kind of think of what materials clothing is made out of in that part of the world. So, and I don't know where you are, but you said tropical, so that's kind of warmer climate. So I'm thinking like the Caribbean, the East Indies, India. Well, like India, for example, a lot of their clothing is cotton and silk because it's thinner and not as insulating, because they don't really need that in that climate. Singapore, okay. Yeah, I would definitely go with cotton, linen, things that have silk in it. Now, there are some wools, like sometimes it's a thin merino wool, can be cooling, because most people think, oh, wool, it's going to be warm and all. That's not always the case. Yes, bamboo. Yes. Thank you, Grammy. Thank you. They make yarn out of bamboo. It's actually not, it's a man-made yarn, but it's using bamboo. Yeah. It's a thing that it's however they process it and all. So technically it's man-made. It's not as 100% natural. But yes, bamboo yarn. It's very silky and slippery. So if you're new to it, well, it can be slippery. I should correct myself. It can be slippery if you can find a yarn that incorporates bamboo fiber with other fibers. That could help also. And I think you're my first viewer from Singapore. Welcome. I know I've had somebody in here. We've got somebody from Spain. I think there was somebody from Australia. Oh, no, no problem at all. But like I said, the thickness of the yarn, there's different terminologies in different parts of the world. It's not a lot of standardization. Same thing again with, like I mentioned, with the stitches. If you're using US terms, you'll be good here because I use US terms because I'm in the US. UK terms, it's the same type of stitches, but they call them something. It's not something totally different. Not to confuse anybody. So, our single crochet, which I'm making a single crochet right there, in the UK they call that a double. They don't have a term called single crochet in the UK. So they use the same terms, but they don't mean the same things. So that's where it gets really confusing. At least, and that's what I should put on my stream somewhere, that I use US terms. If you find an old pattern, like a written pattern, and you're not certain, like a really old pattern, and you're not certain where it's from, that could be difficult if you are trying to, first of all, decipher and interpret what they're trying to say, and also if they're using terms and you're thinking it's a different stitch, and it gets real complicated. But I try to help clarify some of that confusion if I can. When I get lost, or just YouTube the particular stitch and follow. Yep. And I've been crocheting for over 20 years, and I still use YouTube and other references on how to do something. It was like last week I did a stitch, the bullion stitch. I'd seen it many, many, many times, and I tried it years ago, and I couldn't get the hang of it. And I kept trying, and I was like, okay, I'm going to show this on stream. I want to do this. And I couldn't get it. And I found a YouTube video that uses a different tool, and it worked perfectly. So I'm still learning. "20 years, started 2 years ago, but stopped and started again this year. Really getting into it. It calms my nerves." Oh, yes, it's definitely calming. It's that whole rhythmic, methodical motion, and it's something tactile, so you can kind of like focus your attention onto something. And like I said, when you're done, you got something beautiful that you can use or someone else could use. Mainly the only thing I've ever made have been blankets, scarves, like winter hats. Just recently, I've gotten to making shawls. I don't know how many of them. Actually, no. There were 5 of them, all the same pattern. I'm taking a break from shawls. Those of you who've been followers of mine, viewers of mine for a while, know all about the shawls that I've made. And what I just showed earlier, the thinner yarn, this thin yarn, I'm in the process of making my first pair of socks. So I'm learning with that. I do eventually want to make a cardigan sweater for myself. Haven't got there yet. I'm almost the end of this row. You're catching up on days for the time. Yeah, what I do is I only stream the temperature blanket on Sundays, and it's the only time I work on it. I don't work on it when I'm off stream. The only time I touch it is Sunday evenings, and Sunday here where I am. I know you're in Singapore, so you're into Monday right now. Hold on a second, I gotta find the stitch. Happy Monday. What I do is I record all of the temperatures for a week, and then so what I just did here, I just finished the row for Friday. I'm going to be doing the next row is for Saturday, for yesterday, and then on Sundays I stream it and I'll do all the ones for the previous week. Let me just double check this. I should have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Yes, 365 days. When I'm going to be, the next row I'm going to do, which I'm starting right now, the row I'm working on currently that I just started was Saturday, May 27th. And I started, and I'm zoomed all the way out because I'm so far into this blanket that I can't show it all. That green row right there, this edge, that was January 1st. So I'll show you the year so far. This was the winter. We had a white row that was temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And I use Fahrenheit because I'm in the US. And then it got a little warmer, and then it got cooler, and then I saw the weave in my ends. So this is all April and into May, and that's where we're at now. So that's however many days since January 1st. That's how many rows I have. Again, I'm doing let me move this real quick so I can. The stitch I'm doing is the moss stitch or the linen stitch. Like I said, we call it the zipper stitch. I say that every time. That's just what we've named it here. So when I stitch, I'm stitching into the chain space. So the previous row, it's a single crochet chain, single crochet chain. That's the pattern. But when I do my single crochet, I'm stitching into the chain space, not into the stitch. So not into the single crochet itself. I'm stitching into the space that was made. So there's the single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1. And then I find the next chain space, do a single crochet, chain 1, and so on. That is the pattern. And then you can't really see it on the yellow, but you can definitely see it here. Actually, let me show you on the orange and the yellow and the green. Right here, That yellow is a row. So that yellow and those stitches are a row. The green is a row. The orange is a row. The yellow is a row. So each row is a day. So they interlock. So the orange is halfway between the yellow here and the green. And then that way it won't be 8 feet long, which I don't need an 8-foot long blanket. It's also pretty wide. This is for a US queen size bed, roughly, even though my bed's big. I think I have a king size bed. I don't need the blanket that big. I think queen will be big enough. What time is it? It is almost 10 o'clock in the evening here. I'm on the east coast of the USA. I'm in central Maryland. Yes, Eastern Standard Time. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I know. Um I always remember that part of the world was 12 hours apart because I have a friend that I chat to regularly. He lives in Hong Kong and he's mentioned the time there. So it's like, okay, I can know exactly what time it is because it's the same time, except he's 12 hours ahead. Yes, I have a stream schedule. It is posted on my stream here. I stream um, Sunday nights, and this is my time. Sunday nights, Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and Saturday nights, all at 8 p.m. Eastern. I try to stick to that schedule. I mean, we've had some cancellations here and there, and I've had some impromptu streams. And if I miss a stream, I try to make it up if possible. And like I said, Sundays are temperature blankets. The rest of the week, I show how to either make a certain stitch, or a motif like the granny squares that are going to be coming up, or like I said on Tuesday, the yarn bowl. And it's just not me crocheting. When I teach, I'm teaching the actual stitch. Like I'll say, okay, chain X amount and do this and do that. And if you're crocheting along with me, I will take my time and wait for anybody to catch up. I found that that's kind of my niche here on Twitch. A lot of crocheters on Twitch will just do like what I'm doing here, will just crochet. But I found that my little corner of it is a little more on the teaching side of how to do certain stitches and or projects. Yeah, that's the way Twitch works. It'll do the time change and configuration all for you locally, so you won't have to do it yourself. I think it's fun. A live tutorial. If I'm free, I'll definitely join it. Yeah, definitely. And again, like I said, all the streams get uploaded to the YouTube channel, so you can rewatch them. Also, if you're a member of the Discord, either on the Discord or on the YouTube channel. You can always send me a comment or whatever and ask a question if you need clarification or anything, and I'll be happy to answer it if I can. If it's on the Discord, other members in the Discord will sometimes chime in and give some help and some suggestions. We're a friendly little group over there. Wait, is this my last row? Wait a minute, I gotta double check. I should have 9 total because I had 7 last week and then 2 days from the previous were yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I didn't mark off that last row. I've got a what do you call it? An Excel calendar spreadsheet is where I mark all of my temperatures, and I've got them color coded to correspond with my chart. And when I'm streaming, I will mark off the on the calendar anytime I do a row, so I'm not off track. Yeah, they're okay. I mean, I don't really know a lot. I mean, I know how to do actual spreadsheets for some things. I learned that back when I was in school, but this is just a it's just a calendar. I'm not doing any formulas and calculations and all of that. It's just a calendar that I'm marking things off on. I also have a stream planning calendar that I use, a separate Excel spreadsheet, so I can keep track of what I'm going to be doing on each stream. Because if not, it would not be pretty. Yeah, it's not like I'm doing any ledgers and calculations and no, it's just been thinking of how to store my yarn since it's growing. Yes, if you're new to crocheting, you will quickly find that you will accumulate, and then you have to figure out how to store it. What I would suggest is if you have a lot of natural fiber yarns, like you said you're using cotton, I would that would work. I would suggest keeping them in a container of some sort, like a clear plastic container, like a bin or something that would seal so you don't have pests or anything getting into it. That's especially true for wool, because you can get carpet beetles and moths, and that would eat it. Been putting them in Ziplocs in a container. Yep. Now, if you have a lot of man-made fibers like this acrylic, pests aren't going to eat it because insects and whatever, they don't eat acrylic. Yeah, that can happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that can happen. That there will be some insects that will eat like wool and other natural fibers, like silks. because that's what they feast on. Wow, we're already on to another commercial. Okay, I tell you what we're going to do. Instead of coming back from the ad break after this short amount, we're going to go to the ad, and this is what I've been doing usually. As soon as the ad is over, I'm going to end the stream because I'm pretty much at the end of my project. I'll be working on this during the ad. No, it's almost abrupt that I'm ending. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, I will be on Tuesday for the yarn bowl basket project. Again, follow me on the Discord or the YouTube. Oh yeah, no problem, Anna. So everybody have a good evening or good morning if you happen to be in the part of the world where it's morning. And everybody, happy crafting. And we're going to go to the ad. If you want, you can stay through the ad. If not, that's fine. And I will see you on Tuesday.